Okay, you are in the lowest dungeon, and you decided to open the locked door and go in. All at once. When you enter the room, only a single candle is burning. You notice the shadow in the corner of the room, coming closer. And there, a sound, a screeching roar, a monster. It must be a manticore.
Oh, a griffin.
Or maybe it's a unicorn.
Ugh, how long is this game going to take?
Shut up! It spreads its leathery wings. It flaps its comb. And there it is, the mighty Cockatrice.
Isn't that a chicken?
A cockatrice is a fascinating mythical creature, often described as a two-legged dragon, wyvern, or serpent-like beast with the head of a rooster. In many tales, it's described as a blend of creatures: a rooster's head and body, a snake's tail covered in scales, and wings resembling those of a dragon or bat. The cockatrice is famous or infamous for its deadly powers. Some legends say its bite is lethal, while others claim its stare alone can turn you into stone. Now, some of you may think, wait, aren't you talking about the basilisk? While the two creatures share some similarities, there are key differences. The cockatrice is said to hatch from an egg laid by a rooster. Yes, a male bird. And incubated by a toad or snake. Meanwhile, the basilisk is born from an egg laid by a snake or sometimes a toad, and incubated by a rooster. Their appearances also differ. The basilisk is often described as a giant snake, sometimes as a lizard-like creature with 6 or 8 legs, or in rare cases, something that looks like a cockatrice. However, the cockatrice's form is consistently described across legends, making it a truly unique creature. In this video, I'm bringing this legendary beast to life. If you watched my latest RePaint video in the Monstrum series, you may have spotted a hint for this video. At the end of this video, I will have a riddle for you about the next RePaint video. But for now, let's begin and make a cockatrice. For this project, I'm going to use a Frankenstein body and a Julia head from Generation 1 Monster High. This means we first need to remove the head from the body. We do this by dunking the head in hot boiling water. This prevents the neckpack from break. Oh, it broke. Oh, there's a crack in the plastic, but we're going to fix that later. But first, we're going to prep the head. We start by cutting the hair as close to the head as possible. Then we harvest the ears for my weird collection. And now we can go through the neck opening and remove the remaining hairs with a tweezer. It's time to remove the factory painted face with pure acetone. And while we're at it, we're also going to remove the markings on our body. This doll is going to get a lot of body modifications. So we're going to move to the workspace to use the Dremel. As you can see, I've added a few extra pieces, like 2 knee joints and a fin. All parts from previous doll projects we can reuse for this one. First, we need to cut everything to the right fit and shape to get the correct cockatrice body structure. When I cut the pieces, I like to insert a hole with my Dremel to make attachment points. This makes it much easier to reconstruct the body. I'm also making a large hole on our back for our future tail. Back in my craft room, I spotted some more areas that needed work. I did fix the neck joint though, but for the rest, I needed to go back to the workspace for more trimming. Great! Now we can finally reconstruct the body. To ensure I don't glue the joints stuck, I place a piece of craft foam between them. I also do this when reattaching the neck to the body. You still want those arms to be able to move, right? I'm not sure about the neck though. Should I make it longer? Oh well. To secure the body, we use a strong 2-part epoxy glue. I've gotten used to it, but I can tell you in advance, this stuff doesn't smell great. So leave a window open while working with it. Once the 2 parts are mixed, you have about 5 minutes to spread the glue around the attachment points. Ah, that looks great. Now we can add epoxy sculpt to the body for the final reinforcement of the attachment points. Using gloves, I mix the 2 parts together and smooth out the clay with water. After waiting 24 hours for the epoxy to harden, we can sand it down. I'm not sure about the legs though. Looking at the chicken skeleton, they need to be shorter. Yeah, we will adjust as we go. But this does make it easier to sand down the legs. Let's clean the sanding box for a next use. The neck is too short, so I broke it off, inserted a wire and made one for the tail as well. To secure this, we're going to use friendly form. This is a temple morph plastic that softens in hot boiling water. When it becomes clear, you can sculpt it into any shape you like. I'm using it to fasten the tail and the neck. When the plastic cools down, it turns hard and white again. Now that we have the base of the body, we can give it chicken or lizard-like textures. To prevent the doll from getting too heavy, we're first going to use air drying foam. We fill in the chest, the thighs and the back. To ensure the neck pack stays in place, I thread a wire through the center to secure it. Once the air drying foam is dry, we can continue with epoxy sculpt. We will add multiple layers, letting each section dry before moving on. Each layer gives the doll more detail, like the scales on the chest. To form the beak, we first prepare the head. Using an X-Acto knife, we cut off the mouth and the nose area to make 4 extra holes around the large gap. Now we can pinch in the wires that will become the armature of the beak. To secure the wires, we use hot glue, but be careful not to damage the neck pack. While we're at it, let's add the head fin to make a rooster comb. Now the head is drying, let's work on the feet. I want this cockatrice to have movable toenails, so I'm using spare Monster High hands. I cut off the fingers and insert them into the feet, securing them with epoxy sculpt. The next day we can add details like nails and flesh. Another detail I like to add is Velociraptor talon. Since they are similar in size and appearance to the cockatrice as they are described, it feels fitting. Maybe medieval people found dinosaur bones and created the cockatrice legend based on them. It's just a theory, but it's a fun one to include. Back to the head, let's give this chicken monster a beak. Layer by layer, I build an open beak with a long tongue. Under the beak, I form the wattles. And in the beak, I made holes for its future teeth. You will be surprised what material I will be using for that. Adding some detail around the face and giving the chicken skin texture, we let the epoxy sculpt fully dry. The next day we can sand down the doll for a smoother finish. Great! Now let's give our little chicken friend some wings. We'll use thick wire for the outer frame of the wings and aluminum wire for the inner frame to make them more dragon-like. For the wing filling, I will be using black pantyhose. Sewing it tightly around the wires. Stitch by stitch, we go around the wings. To attach the wings to the body, I made 2 grooves on both sides of the doll. Make sure the edges of the wings stay secure in place with some glue. And now we can add some detail using, yes, you guessed it, a epoxy sculpt. The next day we can continue with air drying foam. We'll be using it to fill in the parts of the wings. And now we can finally create the tail. Adding some holes for the horns. I will sculpt the horns out of epoxy sculpt later. Although air drying foam is great for doll projects, it does have a downside. It breaks when bent. To prevent this, we create a mixture of 50% fabric glue and 50% acrylic paint. Using a brush, we apply it in layers over the air drying foam areas. The rule is, the more layers, the better. Let each layer dry completely before adding the next one. I use about 5 to 6 layers in total. Once the layers are dry, we can add final details, like tiny dots to indicate the creature is poisonous, like a mushroom. Now let's grab some paints and bring this dragon chicken to life. As long as you use acrylic paint, you can go safely over the air drying clay areas. For the unpainted sections, I start with a base color. Oh, and let's not forget the nails and horns. After layering down the base color, I like to continue with darker tones. followed by a mix of base colors and highlights. This adds gradients of color to certain parts and enhances the depth. Of course, you can't skip those little dots. That makes it clear this monster is poisonous. Great, the body is all painted. Now let's focus on the head. While some legends claim the cockatrice's gaze can turn you to stone, others say it's the bite that holds this power. I find the bite idea to fit this creature better. Especially since I'm planning to make Medusa in a future repaint video. Still, we're going to give this cockatrice a menacing gaze. And now for my favorite part of every repaint, the highlights. They really make the colors pop and bring the doll to life, in my opinion. Once finished, we seal the doll with a layer of Mr. Super Clear, avoiding air drying foam areas to keep them flexible. We use fabric glue on the wings and add high gloss varnish to the buccal flap and tongue. And now it's time to give this bald snake chicken some feathers. For this, I'll be using these green dyed rooster feathers. First, I cut them in smaller parts. Then I trim each part into teeny tiny feathers. Using fabric glue, I start at the legs and work upwards, feather by feather. I handpicked the longer feathers for the back to form a rooster-like tail. Moving up the back, I continue to the neck. Be sure not to glue the neck joint shut with fabric glue. When I reach the head, I like to start on one side of the comb and then finish the other side. Here we go. Now all this beast needs are its poisonous fangs. And for that, I'll be using cat nails. Yes, you heard me right. As a cat owner, I trim my cat nails every month. I've already used cat whiskers in past projects, but cat nails make fantastic doll teeth. With some high gloss varnish on the teeth, our cockatrice is ready to hunt some dungeons. Yeah, you better run! If you like more content, like behind the scenes photos, even the ones that didn't make it into this video, follow me on Facebook and Pinterest. And if you like to see more videos and you can't wait until the next one here on YouTube, there's a library of exclusive content available for supporters on Patreon and YouTube memberships. You also get early access to YouTube videos. Follow the links for more information. A huge thanks to all my supporters like Kanemaru and everyone else on Patreon and YouTube memberships. Thank you for making these videos possible. And now, here's the riddle for the next repaint video. I lure in the shadows, beauty untamed. A mistress of darkness, by man I'm famed. My hair like midnight, my wings take flight. My hooves of a goat, I rule the night. Blue as the moon, my charms a snare. I steal their breath with a devilish flare. What am I? who drains man's bliss, exchanging for a deadly, tempting kiss? Do you know the answer? Let me know in the comments below. Also, if you have any suggestions for any legendary creatures, monsters or the cryptids, I would love to read about them in the comments. And maybe I will turn them into a doll. As always, like if you liked it and sub if you loved it. I will see you in the next video here on YouTube. Bye!